Hello, and hope everybody's doing well, having a good start, or actually, I guess it's almost a good end to the week here. Good start, early start maybe to the weekend. Going to do a quick video on using the remote function of V3. This is, again, an alpha release, so things can go wrong, may go wrong. Flying by the seat of my pants, again, is all the videos that I do go. None of them are kind of rehearsed or anything. Just what happens as I go along. So let's get started. First, a couple disclaimers. One, no, I'm not associated with Expert Electronics. I'm not sure who started that stupid rumor, but fortunately, though, that's not the case. I am not. Second thing, V3 is an alpha release. So I want to kind of go over something here real quick before I get into the remote. V3s are alpha currently. There is no full version of V3 released to the public. They are alpha releases. They are releases intended for testing purposes to figure out, what works, what doesn't work, what needs a little more tweaking. And then they'll bring in new features, and then those will be tested. Again, what works, what doesn't work, what needs tweaking, and then they bring in more features. So, that said, V3 is not a fully functional piece of software. It is an alpha release for testing purposes only. If you are not comfortable using a software release that is going to have bugs, that is going to have limited functionality, that features are not incorporated yet, that are missing from this version versus, the V2 release, don't use it. Don't use it and then complain, okay? Look, if you're going to use it and you're going to test, that's one thing. And if you do that, please use the bug report, okay? EESDR.com. Underneath the software tab, there's a link for bug reports. Use that thing. That's what it's there for. Don't post them all over the forum site, because it just clogs up things and makes things, harder to go through. Use the bug report. Select your radio. Put the serial number in for your radio. What version of V3 you're having the issue with. Is it Windows, Mac, Linux? That's in the drop down. Your email address. Describe what the issue is. How did the issue come about? What were you doing when the issue came about, or crashed the radio or software or whatever? If you can, grab a video file of it, or a picture of it. Those things are very helpful. So, okay, enough of the bitching out of the way. EESDR.com software. Expert SDR 3. Two things you're going to do here. One, you're going to need either the Windows or the Linux server software starter. The Mac version is not released yet. This doesn't actually install. It is a application that runs from a command prompt, basically. So when you download the Windows version, which I'm going to show you, it's a zip file. All you need to do is create a directory. I created a directory in my Sun SDR directory off of my D drive, and I just called it remote. And I placed this whole thing, unzipped the file into that directory, and then I created a shortcut to the starter.exe file, which is what you need to launch the application with, and I put it on my desktop. And then there's a config JSON file in there that we need to edit. Okay, with a couple fields that I'm going to show you where those are. The first thing to get started here with is clicking on the Expert Remote link in here. Again, that's underneath the server starter. There's the instruction link. Okay, click on it. This has hyperlinks in it, which is very nice. Thanks EESDR for making that easy. First thing you're going to need to do is you're going to need to create a remote account. This account, what it will do is it'll be your login credentials for the remote, okay? All this does is connect to a server, verifies those credentials. If the credentials pass both sides, what the radio is looking for credential-wise, what you've entered in for an account credential-wise, if they match, a handshake is done. At that point, the connection is directly between your two devices. Your physical location of where you have your EESDR radio and wherever you're operating remotely. So, I don't know, at the park, you've got your laptop with you. At your house, your EESDR is set up. So now the devices are connected through the internet directly to one another, okay? The cloud server at that point has nothing to do with anything. It's the only thing the cloud server is doing is verifying credentials, doing the handshake, passing the credentials between the two devices. So click the hyperlink in here. You're going to put in an email address. Make sure this is an email address that is valid, because you will get a link in an email to that address to verify. You'll need to click on it. Create a user account password. Make sure that they match. Click the I'm not a robot, which, I don't know, given the state of most people today, that could be debatable anymore, I guess. Then you're going to click register. Be patient. Sometimes it takes it a while to do the register. Sometimes the server's down. I mean, this is an alpha, state of and they're making changes and things are being done. So be patient with that. Keep an open mind with alpha releases, okay? Things happen. So after you do that, like I said, you'll get an email, response back to the email that you used in here. You'll need to verify that. Once you do that, let me go back over to, I'm going to leave this up. I'm just going to minimize it. Hold on. Now, wait, let's just do this. Sorry. You're going to download, like I said, if you're using the Windows version, download the Windows Server Starter application, okay? I've already got that done. I've already got a account created. So let's go over to that. What I did is, here's my server starter shortcut, but I'm going to show you what I did. So all I did is unzip that file to a directory called remote that I stuck in my Sun SDR folder. And then if you right click on the file that says starter.exe, right click, this is going to look a little bit different. I am using Windows 11 too, okay? Yeah, I know. Windows 11, alpha releases of things. What could possibly go wrong? So Windows 11, you got to do the show more. Send this to desktop, create a shortcut, and then I just created an icon for it, which is why it looks like the little globe with the arrow on it. I just, picked an icon and used it for it. Okay. Once you have this open, right-click on your config.json file, and you will need a text editor or some type of editor, okay? Notepad works perfectly fine for this. So you're going to open this file in Notepad. In here, you'll see two lines. One will have email, one will have secret. Secret is the secret sauce. No, it is not Heinz 57 or A1 or anything like that, okay? The secret is actually the password that you created when you set up your remote credential login account. You're going to use your email address that you created for the email address that you used for the creation of your credentials. Those need to go between the quotes, okay? No spaces before, no spaces after. If you have a space in there, remove the space. So, in my case, the email address there, leave the comma here. The comma has to be there, okay? If you remove this comma, it's not going to work. Same thing with the secret. You're going to, and I'm going to move off screen to put my password in here because obviously I don't want you to see what my password is. So actually, the password is going to go between the two quotes, okay? So I'm going to let me put my password in here. I'll be right back. And let me save this then. Okay. So now at this point, I have my starter application. Let me make sure I don't have anything running here. Okay. V3 is running, but that's okay. Or actually, the starter panel is running. It's not, the actual application isn't running. So now I can double click my shortcut and everything goes right. I should see a connect successful like I have here. At this point, you have an option of either minimizing this or leaving it in place. Do not close it. If you close this, you're going to close your remote connection ability, okay? It's not going to work if you close this. So leave this open or minimize it. I'm going to minimize it for right now. At that point, you can go to, and you're going to do that on the side where your EESDR software is and the physical device. You want to launch that server starter from the location that the physical device is at, okay? Go into EESDR, and then in this demo, I'm going to show you, I'm going to click the third tab down here, or the third little circle here, which will bring up the remote functionality. You see that I have a local choice of a radio. Okay, that's my physical local location where I have the radio now. So in the PDF file that's on the site, you'll see that it tells you to enter this URL. If this URL changes for any reason in that PDF file, they will update that. You're going to put in the login is the email that you use to create your credentials, and the password is the password that you use to create the remote credentials. I can't talk today. At that point, if everything is done correctly, you've got the right password, you've got the right login account, you didn't have any spaces in the starter config.json file, those were done properly as well. You should be able to click login here. And if everything goes right, you will see successfully authorized. A few seconds later, you'll notice that I now have a second choice here. Sun SDR, my serial number, but it says cloud.eesdr.com:5450 for the port number. At this point, I should be able to click start. Before I do that, however, in version 10 that I'm running, I want to run, you've got a couple choices in the Windows version of the V10 software for the graphics interface. So I'm going to run the Vulkan version with the AMD stuff, and I'm going to click start. And in a few seconds after the whole handshake thing is done between the two devices, I have, the graphical interface pops up. And it'll take it a few seconds. You'll see the power button will eventually turn, a lighter shade of gray here. Once that happens, you should be able to click on it and fire it up. So be patient. This is all still in the verification process and still being kind of tweaked on. Okay, so now you see that that's lit up. At this point, I should be able to click on this. And I've got, sorry. That might have been a little loud, sorry. I was reaching over to turn the volume down here. I've got audio and video, and well, I don't know. I probably don't have audio because it's the remote connection to this, and it's not synced over into OBS. So whatever video. Here, let me turn it up some. So I know that's annoying. I want to keep it turned down some, but just enough you can hear it actually is getting signals and working. Okay. At that point, you'll see that if you look down at the bottom here, I'm pulling, almost 730K down. I don't have any upload speed yet because I haven't really done anything. If I start moving this around a little bit, I may get some upload. Okay. The ping is, this is going to vary. Latency. So you'll see that I am connected remotely. Okay. You have your functionality here then too of, being able to change your, the sample rates, everything else like you normally had in V3. So all this will work at this point. Okay. So there's that. You'll be able to do your local logging then too, if you enable the log or the broadcast data through the TCI and you're running a logger that uses TCI remotely, you could run everything with logging and all that stuff remotely as well by enabling that and setting up your local logging program. Okay. So that's one way to connect. The second way I'm going to show you to connect isn't going to work 100%, especially for me with the current situation of alpha release version 0.10.0 that I am using. There is a glitched, kind of screwed up file that had to be removed. That is a Qt6 web interface module. It's an HTML file for the browsers. So some of the stuff you're going to see is not going to work too well in that right now for me. Okay. But just keep in mind, again, it's an alpha release that'll be fixed. The guys that wrote Qt6 or are writing Qt6 are aware of the issue, and I'm sure they'll have it fixed soon, and hopefully it'll be incorporated in the next release or the following release of V3, and that'll be resolved. Again, you can't transmit in the V3 Alpha release remotely. Okay, so keep that. Just remember that it will not transmit. You can listen, you can tune, you can change your bands, whatever whatever else you would normally do. Your modes, all that stuff. All that stuff is functional. Okay, you just can't transmit. All right, so let me close this. Close out of the software up here. A few seconds, this should, the busy, okay, so that's gone away. And I'm going to log out here. Now that's how you would do this if you have V3 software installed at, your park location where you've taken your laptop. You've got it installed on your laptop. You've got V3 installed on the laptop. You went out to the park and you wanted to run it from the V3 chooser panel, okay? That's how you would do that. So let me log out of here. And I'm just going to minimize this. I still have the server starter running. You'll see here, and if I expand this a little bit, there's where it was started successfully when I connected, and then it just closed. So it'll give you the timestamps on that stuff as well. Okay. The second way you can do this is if you open the instruction manual back up again, the PDF file. So I'll put a link to that in the description of this video. I would save it because the hyperlinks will come in handy for you. Plus it's, an easy way to look back at the instructions as well. So if you scroll down here again, you'll see that, there's the two ways of connecting. One was through the Expert SDR radio chooser panel, which is the way that I showed you first. The second way is via this web client, which again, remember that I'm using a kind of a handicapped version of V3 Alpha more so than a regular alpha would be, because there's a messed up file in Qt6 that doesn't allow the web browser to work the way it's supposed to, okay? But there's a hyperlink in here you can click on, and in this hyperlink, it'll take you to, you know, if you're going to use a web browser version, say, I don't know, you left the radio on, it's in remote mode, and you've got your cell phone with you, okay? Or you got a laptop or a tablet with you, and you want to, you know, kind of check things, see how things are going. So you could log in here remotely. See if I remember my password correctly here. Hopefully that's right. And if I click login, okay, it was right. You'll see it'll kind of go through and look and see what radios are associated with my credential account, what radio is on, what radio is in the mode for a remote connection. Again, this isn't going to work correctly, okay? So keep that in mind. If I hit connect here now, this is going to take it a minute or two. And then hopefully it will connect. Again, remember my file is screwed up, so things aren't working the way it's supposed to. Okay, so now I should be able to click go. I'm not going to have a waterfall. But there is your SDR web client, okay? So in here you can change your bands, change your modes. Change your offsets, noise blankers, you know, A and F, the squelch, all that stuff there. Fortunately, like I said, I'm not going to be able to have a waterfall running here to show you how this all works because of that file that's messed up in mine and makes things really kind of unpleasant right now. But that's, you know, kind of an idea of what the web client would look like. Okay. And that should work. I'm using this now in the new Edge browser with the Microsoft. It'll also work in Firefox. At least it should. Let's find out real quick. Let's see if I close this and I do a log off. Okay. Copy this. And let's see if this will work. I think it will. Whoops. Sorry. Let me slide this guy over on my other screen and should be able to do a paste and go. Let's see what happens here. Okay, so let's see. It does look a little bit different here. Maybe it'll work in this. Oh, prevented this site. Yes, I want to allow this. Okay. Let's see what happens with that. I hardly ever use Firefox anymore. With the new Windows 11, I've been kind of trying to test, you know, that stuff out with the software that's included in it, which would be the Edge browser. So, yeah, same thing. Okay. It's kind of what I figured. Again, you know, that's the issue with Alpha sometimes is, yeah, things are not going to work. They're in testing stages and things need to be fixed and applied and redone. So, but that's the web client. I said, the waterfall is not going to show up for me because of the issue with the Qt6 web browser module that needs to be redone. So again, you can close out of this, do a log out. And if I close this, and if I bring my server back up, you'll see that, there's the other two connections that I opened and closed, and the timestamps on those. Once you're done with your remote and you're not going to use it anymore, then you can close this guy down. Okay? If you're using a remote, like I said, don't close this. You can minimize it or leave the window open, whatever you want to do. If you close this, your functionality and the remote connection is not going to work because it's not going to have anything to connect to. Okay? So hopefully that helps explain a few things with that and how that works. It's really a very simple setup. Again, like I said, the actual server doesn't actually do anything other than it's a link to verify credentials and the handshake. And once those, once the credentials are matched on both sides, the authentication takes place, and the authentication is successful. That connection is then handed off between your actual physical location where the radio is at and the location wherever you're running remote from. So, that connection takes place over the internet. Then the server has nothing to do with that anymore at that point in time. Okay. The only thing the server is doing is authenticating the account, make sure everything matches, doing a handshake. It's happy, everything's good. The direct connection between the two devices takes place then at that point. So hopefully, like I said, that explains a few things, and it's pretty easy to set up. A lot less complicated than doing it in V2 was. And hopefully within the next few releases, the transmit functionality will be, employed, and we'll get the beta test that as well. So again, keep in mind, it is an alpha. Things are going to possibly go wrong. If you're not comfortable with things going wrong, or you're not comfortable with having to figure out things on your own, there is no manual. There are no instructions for these alpha releases. They're, fly by the seat of your pants. Dive in, dig around, find what works, what doesn't work, report the bugs. Again, don't clog the forum up with the bugs. Use the, like I said, use the reporting tool on the EESDR site for the bugs. Okay, I'll show you where it's at again here real quick. I'll put a link to it as well in the description. So it's underneath software. You've got the stuff for EESDR 3, the server starter, the instructions link, which I'll put in the description. And then if you have a problem, use the bug report. Okay, use the form. That's what it's there for. All right, have a great day. Have a good upcoming weekend, and we'll look forward to doing another video here in the near future. 7-3, take care.